Hello. Week 7 Fantasy Outlook. Derek has, hello. All right. Well, we're doing Week 7 Fantasy Outlook. I don't know what is going on with my camera in this setting right now, but anyway, so fantasy updates. Cody Weber is in first place, got 102 points last week, 491 overall. Kickaroos second place. Jose Holiday 111 points overall. 487 points overall, 111 last points. That was the high scorer. Third place, Chris Watson, Timber for Chew Toys, 88 last week. Fourth place, Chad Arnett, Daggers FC, 94 points last week. Chris Adams, Mo Molino, 104 points last week and 475 overall. I have had nothing but red arrows since I was in first place in week 2. I have now gotten to 13. I had 84 points, and Derek has had some red arrows the last couple weeks as well. He had 84 points last week also, and he is in 14th. So we're back to back. Just one last shout out. I think Wes Kirk has hit the top 20. Because maybe he's into the 30s. Anyway, he keeps climbing. I think he's had green arrows every single week since week 2. So good for you, Wes. And that is all for my update. And Derek, the floor is yours.
Well, a lot of you are doing a hell of a lot better than I did, especially this past week. I only ended up with 84 points, and I took a minus 12. You know when you have everything just right. You're like, yes, I'm going to do really well this week, and it just does not work out your way in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, that's what happened. SKC gave up 2 goals in both games, and of course I had Melia and Coelho, who fortunately both played 180 minutes. Axel Hober, I know a lot of you had him. Don't ask me. He wasn't on the injury report for either game. Colorado just screwed you there. But either way, I had an auto sub for him. Matt had just missed a game because of poor injury reporting. And by the way, he's out 4 to 6 weeks. So if you have him, drop him. Kleshin's terrible. Graham Zusi missed a game for strep throat, reported after the game, of course. No one knew about that. Pretty much the only player on my team who didn't piss me off was Piatti.
A single game week player.
Yeah, I mean, Arudi did well. I mean, he had 14 points. And for me, it was either between Fernando Adi and Chris Wondolowski, and both of them did really well. But Adi only played 92 minutes during this game week and scored 14 points. So I'm pretty happy with that. I mean, it could have been a little better, Diego Valeri getting 2 yellow cards in stoppage time of their second game. Whatever, just it's water under the bridge now. I'm pretty much going to have to use the wild card this week because now I'm stuck with a severely suboptimal lineup. I do not like it right now, but that's why they give you the wild cards. You can always correct it next couple weeks. Moving on to week 7, it's a single game week for every team that is playing, but there's 2 bye teams. There's Portland and there's Chicago on byes. As far as your Portland players go, you're really only owning Valeri or Adi at this point. I mean, if you had Quarce, he's now out 4 to 6 weeks, so you can drop him too. But if you have a Portland player and you want to keep him, just make sure you have an auto sub. I mean, you can drop Valeri because not only is he going to miss this week, he's going to miss the first game of next week. But like I said, if you have an auto sub and you really, really, really don't want to pick up Valeri again in 3 weeks, I'm not going to say no. But yeah, this week, week 7, single game week, it's in preparation for the week 8 double game week. I'm going to be talking a lot about that. Those teams, no, week 9. Those teams, Montreal, New England, New York City, Portland, Kansas City, and Vancouver, all play in week 8 twice. As far as this week goes, your transfers will end Saturday at 4 p.m. when Montreal plays at home versus Toronto, which, by the way, Montreal is finally playing at Stade Saputo. Yes. Which means they're playing on grass, which means we're finally going to see Didier Drogba more. Which makes a lot of y'all very, very happy for fantasy owners. And it just puts that fear in defenders that are like, what the fuck? No one wants to see Drogba unless you're a fantasy owner. Either way, Toronto does have a good defense, but Montreal is not conceded at home yet. Be prepared for a red card. Right before we recorded this, the referee assignment came out, and Ted Oko is the referee for this game. So, just beware. Just beware. I mean, especially since he gave a red card to the wrong player last week. I still like Laurent Simon. He's averaging about 6 points a game. I know he's $8.8, but he's got a decent matchup this week, especially at home. And he's got 2 games next week against poor teams. So I'm looking at Simon, hopefully, especially since Victor Cabrera's out now. If you really don't want to go with Laurent Simon, you can always go Evan Bush, a goalkeeper, Donnie Toya, 2 other options I like. Ignacio Piatti, number 1 fantasy player so far. You need to own him. If you don't, go pick him up. I don't care what you have to do. Just do it. As far as Toronto goes, it's pretty much still Jovinko. He did score last week. I was impressed with that. He ended up with 9 points. He's going to play at home again starting here in the next 2 or 3 weeks. I don't like this matchup for him this week, but then again, it's Jovinko. You're not benching him. But once he starts playing at home, all bets are off on how good he's going to do. So, we'll just focus on that. Philadelphia, New York City. Philadelphia, I still like CJ Sapong. I still like Keegan Rosenberry. And if you really want that underrated goalkeeper option, Andre Blake has played out of his mind this year. So if you're looking for that cheap goalkeeper, Andre Blake's good. They got a double game week. I think it's week 11, 10 or 11.
I think they have 2 double game weeks. I think it's there's a bye week in between, but they have 2.
Yeah, they got like 1 or 2 coming up. Either way, cheap options, really cheap producing options. I keep correcting myself there. As for New York City, they're playing New York City, who's absolute garbage. And the only 2 players of them I'd own was David Villa, who had a brace last week, and Ronald Matarrita, who averages about 6 points a game at home. And they play at home twice next week. So that's a good option for you. He's at 7.6. DC United, New England, you can absolutely skip that. New England, all you're really looking at is Lee Wynn or Chris Tierney. And I
Shuttlesworth.
Shuttlesworth, maybe. And out of the 3 of those, I prefer Tierney, but, I got better options. So New England is just a weird fantasy team. Columbus and Houston.
They do have the double game week next week, though.
New England?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, if you want to take a risk on Wynn or Tierney and hope they go off, you can go ahead and do that. But Columbus and Houston, this game's going to be a goal fest, but watch it end up like 1-0. Really. Houston's allowed 13 goals this year, and Columbus can go off for 3 in any game. I love Federico Higuain in this game. I love Kai Kamara in this game. Houston, I'm really not sure what to think of them anymore. Started off great, and now they're shit.
I just picked Columbus to lose because I like picking Columbus to lose.
I mean, we all love Columbus losing, but for fantasy purposes, Federico Higuain is a really good option. So, which I hope they lose like 4-3 and he gets like a hat trick or something like that. As long as Columbus loses. So, Colorado, Seattle. Hold off on Jermaine Jones. I want to see where he plays consistently. Because, they're missing Dylan Powers, and now they're missing Marco Papa for the next 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of injuries. Hopefully he plays an attacking role, because if he does, that's really good for your fantasy team. If not, avoid. Defense, just wait till Axel Holberg gets back. Like I said, MLS injury reporting is some of the worst in the world.
Can you talk about Alonso, just because he has a pile of points, but he's a DM?
This was actually a topic on the MLS FI podcast the other day. Really, they were saying if you do select a DM, a defensive midfielder, he is the only one you should pick. But then again, he's not going to score goals. He's not going to get a ton of assists. He's going to be that consistent 5 to 6 point guy. But if you're really looking for someone who can go 8, 9, 10 points, you're better off looking elsewhere. But I do like the consistency of 6 points. I like to play it safe sometimes, especially when my teams play like shit for 3 weeks in a row. Thank you, Sasha Kleshin.
Makes 2 of us.
Yep. LA and RSL. Big news. Joao Plata left training today. Just saw that on Twitter maybe an hour before recording this. He left training holding his quad. Just look for that news. And for once, MLS actually posted on it. Literally an hour after that news, MLS had a story on it. So I am genuinely shocked at that injury reporting. Really. I mean, that doesn't happen every day. As far as LA goes, Gio Dos Santos finally scored. You can look at them if you really want to, but they don't have a double game week anytime soon. I like Sebastian Lletget. He's basically the attacking version of Ozzy Alonso. But once they get Robbie Keane back, I'm hoping for more like 10-point games for Lletget. But, he's for an 8.0 midfielder, he's getting 6 points a game, which is really good. Really good for you. Daniel Steers, Jilly Van Dam, always options. And just like Andre Blake, if you want a low-cost goalkeeper, Brian Rowe is always there for you. LA, a hell of a lot better at home than on the road, and they're at home this week. Vancouver, you could avoid in just about any format. I know they have a double game week next week, but
And then they have 1 in 10 too.
yeah, they got like 2 double game weeks next 4 weeks. But I don't. They haven't scored in like 3 weeks. Really, their offense looks absolute garbage without Pedro Morales. I mean, they weren't that good with him, but Jesus, how bad can they look right now? Defense just doesn't look good, but I guarantee you next week that someone is going to go out and get like 4 Vancouver players and just the most random Vancouver players. I'm not talking like Kendall Watson and David Osted. They're going to get like Christian Teixeira and Octavio Rivera, and they're going to combine for like 60 points. Just watch it happen, because that's the way this game works. It's a pain in the ass.
It is.
It happens every year. Every freaking year. FC Dallas is their opponent this week. Another injury. Matt Hedges is out 4 to 6 weeks. That should pretty much cement. I know I'm pissed about that too, but that should cement Zach Lloyd and Walker Zimmerman as the center back pairing for the next few weeks. And if they get rotated, they're not getting rotated out. They're getting rotated to the side with Maynard Figueroa. I don't think any of them are going to be rotated out because they've lost like 2 or 3 defenders already. Zach Lloyd's about 7.0. Walker Zimmerman's is about 6.0. Maynard Figueroa is about the same price as Zach Lloyd. Dallas is always a good bet for a clean sheet. I mean, especially at home. And I think they have a double game week 10, and they play twice. So we'll see how that works out for them. As far as Mauro Diaz is concerned,
Nobody knows.
Exactly. I mean, Sam just saw it for you. Nobody freaking knows because Oscar Pereira doesn't tell us. So I'm holding off on him until I can actually see him play 90 minutes. In the meantime, I'll recommend some options for midfielders in a couple minutes. San Jose and Sporting Kansas City. What the hell got into Chris Wondolowski this year?
Consistency.
He's averaging 7 points a game. And they were talking about this on the podcast. A lot of them want Chris Wondolowski, but they're afraid that he's going to come up with the random 2-point dud and have that happen like 3 weeks in a row.
He's the second leading forward at 53 points.
Yeah, I mean, that's about the same points as Maxi Urruti. So you really can't go wrong with either of those options. But Wondolowski takes penalty kicks. Urruti doesn't. Wondolowski has his playmakers back. Urruti does not. But that really doesn't seem to be affecting Urruti's status right now. If you want either one, go get him. SKC, yeah, I know. A lot of you got screwed by rotations last week. Honestly, I did too. Whatever. Tim Melia, Coelho, neither of them got rotated. Just about everyone else did. So I had like 15 tweets about people freaking out over Dom Dwyer not starting. And I messaged on it. I'm like, he's going to play. He's just not starting. And he scored that game. So, and then Feilhaber, I had a bunch of people complaining about Feilhaber. I'm like, he's going to do the same thing. And he ended up with like 7 points that game week. Which, by the way, they got another double game week next week. Like I mentioned, Benny Feilhaber, great option. So, other than that,
and they have a double game week in 10 too.
Two double game weeks, right? Yeah, I like Feilhaber, still like Zusi, still like Dwyer. Hopefully Connor Hallisey plays more because I like him too. He's about 5.5. Now that Matt Beasler's back, I'm really not sure about the rotations. So I'm probably just going to avoid that, even though Coelho is the highest scoring defender in the game.
I was gonna say he's probably safe.
So I'm hoping he's safe, but you got 3 high quality MLS starting backs. You got Beasler, Coelho, and Opara. So one of them may have to sit out, and I'm hoping it's not Coelho, and I don't want to have him on my team when I find that out. But if you do have him, I'm not going to tell you no. You still have the top defender option in the game right now. So, and then New York Red Bulls and Orlando City. You guys remember how many points Kaká had in his first game, right? 16? Right. That's only one less than Bradley Wright Phillips has had in 7 games. 6 games, I think. 6 or 7. I don't care. Either way, New York is a complete
The same questions had in 7 games.
Yeah, I mean, you can drop all their players for all fantasy intents purposes.
Kouimet's still decent for some budget.
That's about the only player you should have on your team. Their defense looks like garbage, so I'm just avoiding them. I'm just avoiding them until they get their shit together.
All right.
And Orlando, hopefully Kyle Larin will come back, play 90 minutes. He's always a good option. You all know that by now. Tommy Redding's a budget defender option. Good for that. Kaká Molino should be having way higher ownerships than they do. And in my wild card, I've highly considered taking them both. We've all seen them play together. When one of them scores, the other probably has something to do with it. So the only thing is if we're playing a good defensive team, we don't play well that day, well, shit, you're screwed. So that's about the only thing I can think of. Just remember your double game week teams next week. Did we have any fan question? Something about a double game week?
I don't think we did. And you said you were going to mention other midfield options about 5 minutes ago.
Yes, absolutely. Damn, my memory is terrible. With Mauro Diaz out and Diego Valeri on red card suspension in a bye week, you're obviously going to look at Piatti. You're going to look at Feilhaber. You're going to look at Kaká type players. But if you want to go cheaper, I'm looking at Sebastian Lletget, Ozzy Alonso, Kevin Molino, Andreas Evenschitz. These are the kind of players you're going to want to transfer back in eventually. Diaz and Valeri, obviously.
None of those players that you just mentioned have double games week in 8 or 10.
They don't. I can find one that does.
I know Lletget doesn't, and I know Alonso doesn't, and I know that we don't.
Lee Win does, but I mean, he's being outperformed right now by players at like 2/3 of his price. So, just looking down the list right now.
I mean, honestly, Fagundes looked decent against us.
I just don't like him for fantasy purposes. Really, I mean, he had 17 in the first game, and then he's gone 4, 1, 3, 8, 2, and 2. So, yeah, about Diego Fagundes. I don't know. I mean, Benny Feilhaber's got a DGW next week. Still waiting for David Akon to come back. That'd be great. Yeah, I mean, I just don't see a ton of high-priced options. You're probably going to have to go lower price for a couple weeks. So.
And then just if you're going to go lower price, like how much money is it like safe to sit in your bank? You know, I know like they can't take the money away from you, but at what point is it becoming a detriment?
I'd say more than $2, but I usually have around that. It really depends. If you just want to invest it all in your starting lineup, go ahead and do that. I like to have a little bit of financial flexibility in case like someone gets injured. I can afford to go from like a Diego Fagundes up to like a Diego Valeri type price tag. I like to be able to have that financial affordability. But with the high price forward options coming out, I mean, Drogba's coming back. David Villa played well last week. Chris Wondolowski's out of his fucking mind right now. There's a lot of good forward options, and that's where I'm putting more of my money right now because either midfield options are hurt or lower priced, and you don't have to spend $11 on Kleshin or Lee Win. You can afford to get away with that.
All right. Well, is that all you got?
Yeah, that's pretty much all I got for y'all this week. When you make your transfers, just keep week 8 in mind.
And
Uh,
even 10.
yeah, week 10 as well. Those double game weeks, if y'all want to know, let me pull that up really quick. Week 10 is Chicago, FC Dallas, Philadelphia Union, Sporting Kansas City, Colorado Rapids, Houston Dynamo, Portland Timbers, and the Vancouver Whitecaps. So not that bad there, but it's 8 teams, so there's no excuse to have less than 8 players in that double game week. So,
Alrighty.
yeah, that's pretty much all I got for y'all this week, guys. Good luck, get those green arrows, and stop beating me.
All right, guys. Peace out.